The Diamondbacks needed to win last night, and they did.
You are Locked On Diamondbacks, your daily Arizona Diamondbacks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's up, and welcome to the Locked On Diamondbacks podcast, the show where we talk nothing but the Diamondbacks Monday through Friday. And thank you so much for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every single day. I'm your host, Dane Biggs. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Today in the show, to get things started, I'm going to start reading off comments from our YouTube comment list, just because that's becoming my favorite part about this podcast, is being able to interact with you guys and talk with you guys about the best baseball team in the history of baseball. So I'm going to start things out. What we did yesterday. Today I'm going to read a few. David Pattison said, Blaze is the hottest snake. No debate. Blaze Alexander, which I read that wrong the first time. Which I was like, yeah, he is. Are you kidding me? Whew. Golly. I'm like, well, he's probably the hottest, but you know, there's Jordan Lawler. He's good looking. Corbin Carroll's pretty good looking. And then I realized, oh, no. Like, he's playing good. Right. Yeah, that too as well. And then another one from Zach, who posted last night on a short that I posted, simply said, I believe. And that was right after the Diamondbacks won their game against the Giants yesterday. Today, we're going to be talking about the updated playoff picture, as we have been pretty much every day lately, because it changes every single day and it's exciting to look at. We're also going to look at our game plan and what we learned from yesterday and the day before, and what the Diamondbacks need to do to ensure a series sweep today and further success as these more difficult series come up. But before we get into those, let's talk about last night's game, because if you guys didn't see it and you just saw the Diamondbacks won 6-5, then your heart is probably not as sore as the rest of ours is, because my heart was beating hard last night, though it was a different kind of stress. I'll talk about that. But let's just run through the bullet points real quick. Eduardo Rodriguez was our starting pitcher, and in the first inning gave up 4 runs on 5 hits. It did not look very good. In the bottom of the second, we managed to get a few back. Moreno and Blaze Alexander had back-to-back hits, which scored Moreno, and then Adrian Del Castillo, hit a 2-run home run to score Blaze and himself. So we got 3 runs right back. So it's 4-3 in the bottom of the second. But then in the top of the third, the very next inning, Wilmer Flores, former Diamondback, hit a solo home run, and that was followed by a single, which was later stranded on the bases. I bring that up for something that you will see in just a second. Top of the third, that's what happened. In the bottom of the fifth, Ketel Marte, he hits an RBI base hit to score the 4th run, and then right after him, Corbin Carroll gets a hit as well to hit the tying run, to bat in the tying run, which was Perdomo. Perdomo, by the way, reached basically every time he was up, I think -1. Anyway, nothing else basically was at a standstill, 5-5 the rest of the game until the bottom of the 9th. Corbin Carroll hit a single. Gabby Moreno walked. Blaze Alexander reached on a sacrifice bunt that ended in an error. And right after that, Jordan Lawler came up with nobody out and got a small single, a swinging bunt. Or no, it wasn't even a swinging bunt. He threw his bat at the ball, and the ball got past the pitcher, and Carroll was able to score, and ending the game 6-5. So Jordan Lawler on a single got his first walk-off last night. So exciting. I actually have video of my reaction that I posted to the shorts page on the YouTube channel. You should check it out if you want to see me freaking out a little bit. So a handful of takeaways here. We started the game, as the game started, before we got up to bat, it was 4-0. And obviously that's not good. Erod didn't look good in that first inning. He's back to his old self, giving up, runs and everything like that. But the thing is he didn't look that bad. The first inning, granted, I mean, he was giving up hits and over and over, a bunch of hits. He didn't give up any home runs, but 5 hits in that first inning, and they were extra base hits and all that kind of stuff. That obviously wasn't very good. But the strategy for the Diamondbacks lately has been pitching aggressive, pitching in the zone. That will come with some more base hits and some more home runs. But after that, he gave up a solo home run in the third, and then he gave up a single in the third, and then that was it. Rodriguez ended up pitching 5 full innings, 83 pitches in those innings. He probably could have gone a 6th, but they pulled him after 5. And after that, he was locked in. So the second inning, first of all, I didn't even mention the second inning. Second inning, great. He did a great job. Third inning, gave up a home run, gave up a single. And then the fourth and fifth inning, lights out. And then the bullpen came in and was perfect. Literally, they didn't give up a single hit or walk. They were perfect for the last 4 innings of the game, which that's not as impressive, obviously, as a no-hitter, but I think it's pretty cool. The bullpen being perfect to end the game in a tie game. The game was tied, and the game was tied after the bottom of the 5th inning. So the 6th inning onwards, it was tied, and that was when the bullpen was in. So clutch, very high pressure situation, and all of our relief pitchers did an incredible job. Curtis pitched the most out of the group. We had Thompson pitch an inning. I forgot to write a note of who all pitched, so now I have to look, which is super embarrassing because I'm like super professional. Brandon Garcia he ended the 8th inning he just got 1 out, and I think he threw 2 pitches to get that final out. And then Saul Frank ended up with the win, pitching the 9th, 1-2-3 with a strikeout. Very good. I was happy to see Saul Frank pull out a 1-2-3 inning because last time we saw him didn't end very well. So that was amazing. And again, our bullpen is always, I feel like, the punching bag. That's always our go-to. Like, the Diamondbacks suck because we always blow games, and they've always, that's always been the thing that's wrong with them. And Mike Hazen can't get a good bullpen together, and Torey Lovello doesn't know how to manage a bullpen, and da 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 da. I feel like I always hear that, and that's not completely wrong. Like those argue there is an argument there, but right now, that is not the problem. And that wasn't the problem in 2023 when we went to the World Series. Our bullpen was always able to deliver in a big way. And right now, our bullpen is delivering in a big way. So that's exciting. I'm not saying anything. I'm not making any bold predictions, but interesting parallel. Ketel Marte, he was, I think they said that he was 5 for 45. It may have been something close to that. I didn't write it down, but he has been struggling so much lately. And he seems like, and a lot of you guys have pointed this out in the comments as well, it seems like he's just not in it anymore, and he kind of doesn't care. And I mentioned to my wife while we were watching the game before he got his hits it almost looks like he's like, I just want the season to be over so I can go on vacation. And he just does not seem excited to be here, which is why I've always been like, well, just sit him. Just let him sit out, like give him a break or whatever. I still think maybe that's what needs to happen. But last night, he got an RBI single and he had a double, one after the other. He's still swinging at the first pitch. He's still grounding out, popping out. It's not good. But towards the end of the game, he was showing a lot more energy, a lot more life. He seemed excited. So that was very good to see. And then Corbin Carroll was 3 for 5. He got out his first 2 times, and then he had 3 singles in a row. The first one being an RBI single that scored the tying run. So hopefully, and again, 2 days ago, Carroll got a double. So I'm hoping Marte and Carroll, they're back. They're officially good to go. They're going to come in today, and they're going to do great. And then they're going to come in against the Phillies, and they're just going to go on fire. And they're going to just put up all-star numbers, and they're going to do an amazing job. That's what I'm hoping for. If they can do that, and the rest of the team continues to perform the way they've been performing, Moreno, Alexander, Lawler, Alec Thomas did very good today. Del Castillo, McCann, just all these guys who are kind of slept on. If they're also showing up, and you have our top hitters performing better than ever, then we have a shot against the Phillies and the Dodgers and the Padres. Perdomo, speaking of, actually, I didn't say Perdomo. I might have been thinking Perdomo. I didn't say Perdomo. Perdomo had a funny game today. He reached 4 of 5 times. Very, very good. His on-base percentage is ridiculous. Again, I think I mentioned this yesterday. He reaches base more often than he doesn't as of the last couple weeks. So that's wild. But the thing that was funny is he reached today on a strikeout, then a double, great, then a walk, and then a hit by pitch. He got plunked in the back by their closer and made a very comical little tumble. It probably wasn't very comical for him. It looked like it hurt very bad, but he wasn't injured. There was no risk of that. And afterwards, he was talking to everybody else, talking about, I assume, just being like, man, that hurt. Have you guys ever been hit right there? It was like in this weird spot in his back, and he was just like, golly, I didn't feel good at all. But he seemed to be okay. And also Perdomo, the entire game, he was making funny faces at the camera. He's goofing off with everybody else. Lawler's goofing around. Alexander's goofing around. Moreno's having fun. And towards the end of the game, Marte and Carroll were having fun. It really looks like the Diamondbacks these last couple games have been figuring out how to have fun again. And they were before. They lost against they lost the series against the Giants, and then they lost that first game against the Twins. But since then, before then, and then since then, I think they're really coming together as this team that really knows what they're doing and how to play good baseball. So I'm super excited. One other thing, and I guess this is the last thing I'm going to bring up about the game. I wish I did this earlier because this is a negative, but the leadoff batter in yesterday's game reached 8 out of 9 times. So 8 of the 9 innings, the leadoff batter made it on base. And that leadoff batter only scored 3 times. The Diamondbacks had 12 runners left on base that they stranded. So honestly, they should have had a lot more than 6 runs today. Not being able to get those extra runs in is going to cost them when they're playing a team with better offense like the Phillies or the Dodgers. But a win's a win. We're going to take it, and they need to figure out how to get those guys in. We're going to talk more about that in the third segment today. But on a positive note, yesterday they had 13 hits, which was great. It's good to see whenever you have a ton of hits like that. The game before they had 9. So this series so far, they have 22 hits. Offense is definitely taking off. And if it's just because they're here at Chase Field, great, because we're going to be at Chase Field for the next 2 series. Up next, we're going to be talking about the updated playoff picture and where everybody stands and how everybody played yesterday. We're also going to look at what we have ahead of us today. And we are going to get into where we stand in all that right after this. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy app where making the right call can actually pay off. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being right means cashing in. With football back, Prize Picks is the simplest and fastest way to get in on the action. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player projections, and you can turn your takes into real prizes all in less than 60 seconds. It's quick, easy, and honestly, my favorite way to follow along with football. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. So yesterday we started the day off with the Mets beating the Padres pretty hard. So that was unfortunate because now we had to win just to keep our spot in the wild card race, which we had to win anyway. So that didn't really change, but it's just a little bit easier going if you know that the team you're behind lost. You know what I mean? I don't have to explain that to you guys. However, the Reds did lose to the Cardinals, which they were right on our tail, half a game behind us. The Giants, obviously, also lost. And the Cardinals, who played the Reds, also won. So there we go. Teams playing each other. This is quite the interesting because, the Padres and Mets, wild card teams, Reds and Cardinals, wild card contenders, and Diamondbacks and Giants, wild card contenders. So whoever did the scheduling did a very good job at making sure they were all playing each other at this time. The Mets are currently, their win percentage is .517, and they hold the final wild card spot. We are 2 games above 500, 77 and 75, and we are 1.5 games back from that final wild card spot. If we win 2 games and the Mets lose 2 games, then we're in. That's all that needs to happen. Granted, there's 10 more games. So then there's the other 8 games that we'd need to win equal amount. But we'll get to that later. The Reds and Giants are now 3 games back from that final wild card spot. They are 1.5 games behind us. So even if we lose tomorrow, the Giants will win. And if the Reds win, we're still going to be 1.5 games ahead of them. Or sorry, we're still going to be half a game ahead of them. We're currently 1.5 games ahead of them. And then the Cardinals are 4.5 games behind the wild card spot, or 3 games behind us. And then also, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to worry about this because it's not going to happen. It's kind of fun a little bit. The Padres and Dodgers both losing their last few games. We're now only 5.5 games behind the Padres and 7.5 games behind the Dodgers. So it would be pretty wild. Then the thing about the Padres is we're playing them to end the season. So if somehow we were 2.5 games behind the Padres to at the start of that, I guess we wouldn't be 2.5 because we'd be finishing at the same time. So we'd be 2 games behind the Padres. If we were 2 games behind the Padres when that series started, then that'd be pretty wild. We'd have a chance at second place. I'm not planning on that. I'm not counting on that because then at that point we're in the wild card anyway. So, but kind of fun to think about, isn't it? It sounds like then the other thing is that the Diamondbacks have one of the best records, if not the best record in the National League since August, which doesn't feel right because it feels like we've lost a bunch. But I think what that really is it's just that our losses seem so much heavier right now because we're trying to get that final wild card spot, and our wins don't seem quite as wonderful because we've been trailing by so much. But now that we're getting closer, those losses are going to hurt even more, but the wins are going to feel even better. Like last night, the day before, big wins, feels pretty good. Let's look at the games yesterday really quick also just to kind of get an idea, because the Padres and the Mets still have 2 games together. The Cardinals and the Reds still have 1 game together, and we and the Giants still have another. So the Padres got blown away by the Mets offense. The Mets came out 5 runs in the first inning, and they never looked back. The Padres got a few solo home runs here and there, but they didn't get close. So if the Padres want to win, which again, we are rooting for the Padres today and tomorrow, then they need to figure out a way to shut down that offense. The Cardinals simply shut down the Reds. The Reds, I think, only got 3 hits. They were shut out of the game yesterday. So they just need to continue to do that. And then we matched the Giants in our offense. If anything, we exceeded them a bit, but I'll say we matched them. They got a bunch of runs. We got a bunch of runs right back. They got 1 more run. We got 2 more runs, and then we, at the end of the day, we outpitched them. So their starting pitcher did a fairly good job. He was a bullpen arm. It was a bullpen game for them. They didn't want to put Seymour out there again because we crushed him in 2 innings last time we faced him. So they just said, you know what, if we're going to be playing the bullpen the whole game anyway, let's just give us the best shot. And they did all right, actually. Unfortunately, I was hoping for like a crazy blowout game for us. We didn't get that, but a win's a win. I'll take it. And we did see a lot of their pitchers. The thing that really made the difference was that our bullpen was able to shut them down so completely that even though we weren't able to capitalize on our leadoff hits and our extra base hits and our sack bunts and all the, putting players in scoring position and all that kind of stuff, we weren't able to capitalize on that. But because our pitching was able to hold them off, it ended up being okay. So in today's game, we need to continue that. We need Brandon Pfaadt. I'm nervous for how many home runs he's going to give up today. I would be surprised if he doesn't give up any. Hopefully it's just like 1 or 2 solo home runs, but I'm expecting him to give up a few runs in his outing. Hopefully he lasts at least 5 innings, maybe 6 would be great. But our bullpen needs to continue doing what they've been doing, shutting down the Giants' offense. If they can do that, then what our offense needs to do is we need to attack early and fast and consistently. That's the other thing is the Diamondbacks typically in a lot of games, and this isn't just the Diamondbacks, every team, they'll hit the ground running and then they'll slow down. That's what happened with the Giants. Or they'll have a really big inning in the 2nd and 3rd, and then they'll slow down, and then in the 7th and 8th, they'll have a big inning. But all the other innings in between, they go 3 up, 3 down, 3 up, 3 down, 3 up, 3 down. The Diamondbacks do that just as much as any other team, as far as I'm aware. But last night, every single inning, they were coming out. I think the 3rd inning was the only inning that we went 3 up, 3 down. The rest, we were either drawing walks, we were getting base hits, we were causing errors. I mean, we were getting on base like crazy. So if we can do that again today, but actually score those runs, then we're going to be doing pretty good. We're going to be making it pretty well. And we're going up against Justin Verlander today as well, which sounds scary, but he should have retired a few years ago, at least last year. This year has not been a good year for him. And it's kind of hard to see, but he's not going to be remembered for his last year. He'll be remembered for what he did. So I'm not too beat up about him, but we have a pretty good shot against Verlander in today's game. Anyway, we've been going into our game plan a little bit, which is actually the next segment. So we're going to go ahead and pause here for a quick little break, but we're going to continue with this game plan of what the Diamondbacks need to do to win today, as well as get into the playoffs, because darn it, it's starting to actually look like it might happen. So stay right there. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's the 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or on your phone. Monarch is built for people with busy lives. If you put off organizing your finances, Monarch is for you. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. It can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, and get smart characterization of your spending. And finally, feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use Locked On MLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONMLB. There is nothing like catching a baseball game live. The energy, the crowd, the chance to see your team in person, but actually getting tickets, that's the tough part. Queues, login screens, surprise fees, it takes all the fun out of it. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. Honestly, it's faster, cheaper, and less stressful than any other way I've bought tickets. Download the Game Time app, Create an account and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONMLB, LOCKEDONMLB, all one word, for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. So, like I said, our offense needs to continue showing up. And what that means is that Perdomo, who has been great, I'm not criticizing Perdomo, Carroll, Marte, and Moreno need to continue to hit the bat. Carroll and Marte, I'm still concerned about. But if last night is an indicator that they're back and their mojo is kind of coming back into play, then I love it. Then let's do that. Marte still seemed a bit. He was being patient. Like his first at bat, he was being a lot more patient. He wasn't swinging at the very first pitch like he was the other day. But after his first at bat, the pitch selection was off. It was still kind of weird. He was getting under the ball every time, popping balls up out into foul territory. Didn't look great. Carroll, even the two at bats that he got out, they were like line outs to third base or no, it was to second base, or they were hard contact outs. So Carroll, I think, is seeing the ball, and he probably needs to get his power figured out because they were all on the ground line drive type hits. We could definitely use a home run here and there, and there were definitely could have used a home run yesterday. That would have taken a lot of the stress off of the game. But that being said, I'm happy if he's getting hits. He's not getting outs. That is fantastic. That's all I ask for right now. But the other thing is we need to let our hot guys play. And I'm not saying hot like Blaze Alexander is good looking hot. I'm saying like Jordan Lawler, he's doing very good. He's bringing a lot of energy to the ballpark and to the team, and he's getting big hits. Yesterday, his hit was not a big hit. It wasn't a loud contact type hit, but it was the walk-off hit. So there you go. Blaze Alexander's still doing very well. He reached on. And then also, and actually, we'll talk about that in a minute. I was going to talk about like sacrifice bunts because we did a lot of that yesterday. You know what? Let's go and talk about it. The Diamondbacks had quite a lot of sack bunts yesterday, like more than I feel like I've seen in a long time. And they were really trying to advance the runners off of first base to, I think what it was to avoid the double play. And a few times the sack bunt would go down and an error would cause them to reach anyway. So that was pretty neat. They basically bunt it right at the pitcher and then let the pitcher field it, because most of the time pitchers are horrible fielders. So you got a good chance at getting it there. The question I have though is if we need to be more aggressive on the base paths or not. Because that's one thing I feel like the Diamondbacks, that's always been their strength, is the chaos that they bring, and they're fast, they're quick and fast runners, and how they're able to steal bases and steal runs and everything like that. But lately, I feel like we haven't been seeing much of that. And maybe that's because, Corbin Carroll got caught stealing a few times and Perdomo got picked off a few times here or there. And maybe it's just we're kind of spooked and we need to step back a little bit. But I feel like yesterday there were a lot of times where I was like, Carroll needs to steal right here. Like, we need a guy in scoring position. I didn't count and see how many of those instances would have scored a run. I don't know that there was many, but there were a lot of points where I was like, we need to be ready to steal. And the Giants pitching was all over the place. Like there weren't any passed balls or wild pitches, but there were a lot in the dirt that bounced away, that got away from the catcher. And if the mentality was, I'm going at first, look, or at first sign of a fumble or whatever, yeah, I think we would have gotten a lot more traction on the bases than we did. But I also don't want them throwing their base runners away. You know, they have a perfectly good runner on first, nobody out. A bad call will now you have nobody on base and one out. So I understand that there's a balance there, but I would like to see that aggressive base running again. I think that would be a really good way to go about it. But letting our Hawkeyes play. I mean, if Del Castillo is going to be hitting home runs, if he's putting the bat on the ball and he's getting key hits, then yeah, let him play. If McCann is going to be hitting home runs like all the time and getting a bunch of RBIs, yeah, leave him in. Which I see why they didn't put him in yesterday, because there was a bunch of right-handed pitchers, and maybe I haven't seen his splits on how he does against lefties, but I imagine it's not as good as righties or against righties as it is lefties. So I understand that, but I would love to see McCann in there more, see if he is actually on a hot streak or if it was just a fluke or whatever. But I have a feeling it's not. They are putting Jordan Lawler in a lot more. I love to see that. Honestly, he needs to be in there at every opportunity. I think the more he's in there, the better he's getting. And the better he is, the better our future looks as a team. And when I say future, that could be immediate future, as in the playoffs, or at the very least, it's our future as in next year, which I think is shaping up to be very, very bright and exciting. We do need to continue to pitch aggressive. We need to not be afraid to attack the zone. I don't want Fott to come in today being like, well, they hit a bunch of hits off of Erod because he was throwing in the zone, so I gotta stay away from that, and I gotta pitch around it. No, just they're gonna get hits, they're gonna get runs. Just pitch in the zone, and if you're lucky, they're not gonna get hits because you're just being so aggressive that it's quick strike one, strike two, and then they're in an 0-2 count, and then they're playing. They're swinging at anything they can get just so that they can try and stay alive, and then you got them. So, and that's like where Zach Gallen has been finding a lot of success lately. Later today, we have our final game against the Giants, our final game of the year. Oh my goodness, so exciting. And we're done with the Giants. And we are looking for the series sweep against them. We've already clinched the series, and we've already clinched the season series against the Giants. So if we did end up tying with them in the playoff run, we would get the tiebreaker. So that is huge that we've already got that, but a series sweep would really put us higher and in a much more comfortable position. Brandon Fott is going to be taking on the legendary Justin Verlander in the game today, and we're hoping to really just take these San Francisco Giants out of contention. If we can win today, they go against the Dodgers after this. They're tired, they're demoralized. Exactly what we want. so horrible. Sports is great. I'll be back here first thing tomorrow morning, so be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. We're on YouTube as well as every other place that you get your podcasts. If you want to see more of me, Danon, you can find more of my YouTube channels and projects over on my website, slackshack.tv. That's slackshack.tv as in television. Thank you for making Locked On Diamondbacks your first listen every day. For your second listen, find the all-night Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night until a World Series champion is crowned. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find MLB Game Night on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. My name is Danon Biggs, and we will see you tomorrow.